Good day to you, folks of YouTube. I am your host, Vert343, back a little bit late to talk to you about the Makyr's plan. The Makyr, or Maker, or more properly known the Kahn Makyr, has some sort of plan related to a tradition, but what is this plan exactly? How does it work? What does it mean for heaven as a whole? Today I'm going to take my guess at all of that, and possibly a little bit more. Of course, I'm still a little bit behind because I intentionally haven't seen anything past the second trailer to avoid spoilers, so I may have missed a little or a lot depending on what other people's videos have shown off. And with that, on with the video. So to figure out what the Maker's plan is, we need to know about this so-called tradition. Of course, we know this tradition includes humanity suffering in some way, the Doomslayer not getting in the way, and that it makes them prosperous. However, beyond that, we really don't know anything. So here's what I think. I think that the tradition the Maker has is to sacrifice a species to Hell so that Hell does not attack them and maybe even helps them. Yes, I am officially suggesting an agreement, deal, or even diplomatic relationship between Heaven and Hell, even though they're supposed to be exact opposites. My personal headcanon is that the deal looks something like this. The Makers will supply the demons with one species to kill and absorb every X years. In exchange, the demons do small things to help them create those said species and do not attack them, benefiting both the demons and the Makyrs. I do not think that the Seraphim approve of this at all. At least, not anymore. I think that the entire Order of the Seraphim are completely against this deal, which they may have only gotten to know about fairly recently, or may have only realised was terrible when their greatest creation, Argent D'Nur, was given to the demons after what might have just been an unlucky X time period for the Makers. On the Maker's end, I can imagine they have to do some form of ritual to give a species over to the demons, this likely being brainwashing or otherwise gaining control over at least one highly powerful figure in said species and using them to corrupt the minds of the people below them. Once this ritual is complete, the demons have control over the main portion of the society the Makers were giving to them, therefore making it easy to crush the rest. This cycle can be seen with both the Night Sentinels of Argent D'Nur and the humans of Earth. The Sentinels lost the Betrayer, who gave away the location of their power source, the Wraiths, weakening them for the demons to attack. The humans lost Olivia Pierce, who started a cult and crumbled the UAC. Once this ritual is complete, the Makers are likely to receive some form of immediate payment, likely some form of help or resource to close out the deal, and then they go back to just not being at war with each other. It is at this point that the demons attack the society and take it over, as happened to Argent D'Nur and is currently happening to Earth through the course of Doom Eternal. What the Kahn Makyr didn't originally plan for but is now trying to combat is the Slayer's interference. The Slayer, a product of the Seraphim and some select demons, is a force the Maker had never encountered before the Earth invasion, and he likely wasn't anywhere near as powerful during the capture of Argent D'Nur. He also didn't have his Praetor suit or Crucible at that time, he may not have even been blessed. The Maker's new plan is likely to work with the demons to foil the Slayer, getting him shut down once and for all. Trailer 2 shows the confrontation between the Maker and the Slayer, which is likely some form of boss battle beginning. The plan with the Maker was likely to foil the Slayer in direct confrontation, gaining the respect of Hell's new leader through that action. This leads me to believe that the Maker will be a recurring boss, with the first fight occurring early-ish in the game and having another around midway and a third at the end, with 3 to 4 other bosses from the demon side sprinkled throughout. The reason that I believe the Maker wants to use the Slayer's defeat to gain Hell's respect is that the Slayer is by far the biggest threat that Hell has ever seen and likely ever will see, and his death would be a massive grace to Hell's society and would help them greatly, but would also put them in debt to the person who killed the Slayer. I believe the Maker's boss fights will become less heavenly and more hellish as the game progresses. The first one, and the one we were shown, will likely have taken place in a fairly early level around Heaven and be almost completely uncorrupted by Hell's influences. The second may take place in a neutral zone such as on Earth, supported by the demons, with the Makyr being partially corrupted and partially demonized. The final fight could take place in Hell and be a 2v1 or 2 in a row type fight of the Makyr and the new leader of Hell against the Slayer, supported by demons, fallen angels and other such enemies. During the battle, the Slayer may have Night Sentinels on his side, we don't know. Although I believe this is what could happen, I suspect this is not the original plan the Maker had. I believe the Maker's plan will be for it to go the opposite way, where instead of failing against the Slayer and being driven into Hell's influence, the Maker wants to gain influence over Hell and turn them into a different society under Heaven's control and be a bit less, demonic. If this plan does partially succeed, and the Makyr does gain influence over Hell for surviving a battle with the Slayer, it will be likely that the final levels of the game will feature an all-out war of the heavens between the Order of the Seraphim, led by the Seraph himself, with the Doomslayer as their best warrior, and the Makyrs, bolstered in number by the partially converted demonic hordes and more powerful than ever before. But what if it's nothing to do with the Sire? What else could the Kahn Makyr be planning? Well, that's simple. Pause for dramatic effect. The Makyr is planning to shift the balance of power in the dimensions in Heaven's favour using the entire dimension of Earth as a pawn. Back in Doom 2, Earth was already a target for the demons, but the invasion failed thanks to the Doom Guy. If we assume the Doom Guy is the Doom Slayer and that the original survivors from Doom 2 are the ones who refounded Earth and rebuilt it while the Doom Guy Slayer was busy kicking ass and taking names in Hell, well, Earth suddenly seems a lot more valuable. What if the Kahn Makyr used her powers to manipulate Olivia Pierce into taking the demon's deal, doing it in exchange for power and influence in the Hell dimension? What if, instead of continuing to war, the Makyr wants to create a super faction and rule the entire dimension through full control over Heaven, Hell, and the mortal plane? The Seraphim are obviously against this, and although the Seraph himself told the Slayer that he could not save Earth, which he likely can't unless he does it the Doom 2 way again, he never told the Slayer to stop ripping, tearing, and pummeling demons. In fact, at the start of Doom 2016, the Seraph specifically told the Slayer to rip and tear until it is done, and that you will be worse, in reference to the demons. The Seraphim obviously don't want to deal with the demons, and now also can't deal with the Makyrs. If this is the case, then it is likely the Slayer will be given another massive power boost in order to turn something that was supposedly out of his field of view, the Makyr's plan, into something that he can quote-unquote properly deal with. Personally, I believe this to be completely unnecessary, as the Slayer is already very much capable of taking on the Makyrs with his literal eons of combat experience and massive power. This will of course lead to the final showdown, one between the Kahn Makyr and the Slayer, being at the end of the game as the final boss fight, symbolically killing God and bringing an end to the Makyrs for good. Having already destroyed the Demon Lord and likely the vast majority of the demons on Earth, Mars, Phobos, Deimos, on the Moon and in Hell itself, you will then be killing off the final remaining opposition to peace and prosperity for the rest of existence, the Makyrs. Either way, what you need to remember is that this is all just a theory, a doom theory. Thank you all so much for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, and BFG blasting that notification bell. I will see you in the next video. Vert343, signing off. Peace out, gentlemen.